evening, everybody. We are live, and it is Monday evening. It is 7 o'clock again. Welcome to the World of Football podcast, or to other people who are watching, Doug's Dangling Carrots. Yes, Tarun, if you're in the comments, it's not called that, right? So let me just say that now. I will introduce my co-host, Josh. How you doing, my friend?
Good evening, everyone. Here for episode 2. It's the weeks went by like that. It feels like yesterday we did last week's podcast. Now ready for another one.
I know it's mad. It's actually madness that it's Monday again as well. As you can tell, Reece is in the pouring rain in sunny wee Scotland. How you doing, Reece?
As I always am, I am top notch. Welcome to my show. Yes, you heard it. This is my show. It might be called the Dugout Football Channel, but this is my show. And I'm just kidding. Welcome to the show, folks. Hopefully it's a good one.
Absolutely. And we have a very special guest. Joining us tonight is Chris Ellis from the Villa Together podcast. How are you doing, Chris?
Yeah, really good, mate. How about you? You good?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. You'll be smiling like a Cheshire cat right now with the way Aston Villa have started the season.
Yeah, 4 from 4. Can't complain. You know, with the only team with a 100% record in the Premier League, one of 2 teams with a 100% record in Europe. So it's all good.
It is all good. It is all good. Can I just say before we start the podcast? Can I just say thank you so much to everybody who has got me to 600 subscribers. Absolutely amazing. I would never have assumed that I would be on 600 subscribers by October. So thank you very, very much, everyone. It really has meant a lot. Let me just say hello to a few people, because I know there's a few people in. Hella Karstad is in. Hello to Hella. Hope you're doing well. Diego C. Palace is in also. Chris Welsh, evening lads, hope you're all well. Reece going out for a walk, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, I'm out with the dog.
Riley Kubahaye being in the stream because of Scott. That's absolutely fine, Riley. Right, let's start tonight's podcast, and it has to be said, the first thing we have to talk about is VAR. It has been a dominating talking point over the weekend as well. I mean, it's dominated most of the games for sure. Palace, Brighton for sure, that was one of them, and the Merseyside derby as well. But I'll start with Josh. VAR. What is your thoughts on VAR after another week of talking points?
Are you really coming to me because I'm a qualified referee?
Hope not.
First of all, I think it's safe to say I think this year has been 10 times better than it was last year. The using of the pitch eye monitor has made a much bigger difference to the game, having the referee actually call it on the pitch instead of just kind of standing around looking at the referee with his hand to his ear. I think the biggest issue with VAR is the people using it in England. I think David Coote, who was the fourth official in the Merseyside derby on VAR, he has a history on VAR as a really, really dodgy referee, because he's the one who didn't give the red card to El Celso against us last year when he physically stamped on the player. But he's the one who said there was no red card. So I feel like VAR comes down to the individual use. But I don't think anyone here could say how that Mane goal was offside. I don't think anyone anyone ever in this world could say how Mane was offside and how that was not given. You know, his elbow was past the line, but you can't score with your elbow under the new law. So
yeah. I said it on Connor. I said it on one of Connor streams. Are we now going to have a situation where our backs are going to be offside now? Because it looked like his back was offside. Honestly, it was a joke. It was an absolute joke decision. But that wouldn't have took away from anything. The fact I thought Everton deserved a point in that game. I didn't think we did enough to win that game. I thought Everton were. I think
by
they
far
were
the better
better
team
to get a point. But they were very poor. I think we surprised them actually. Yeah.
I think it justifies who the better team was. Really, that's what I'm going to say.
Oh yeah.
I do think VAR though this season has been better compared to last year. Using it as a pitch eye monitor has made things far, far better. But again, the biggest issue is the people who are using VAR, but also the offside law has to be rectified. Not the offside law itself, but the offside law regarding VAR to what is a clear and obvious offside and what isn't. That has to change. Otherwise, you will keep getting these stupid offsides throughout the season. That's the one thing with VAR that needs to change, is that you don't have to adapt the whole law to the VAR. You adapt the interpretation of what a clear and obvious is to see if it's enough for a referee to overchange it or not. That is the big difference. It is so simple to change. Why they don't is I don't know. VAR doesn't have to change. It's here to help the game. They stick by this whole thing that whatever's the law is the law and whatever. It isn't. VAR is there to change clear and obvious decisions, to stop controversial big decisions happening. It's very simple to change it.
Yeah.
They did it with handball. Remember, they did it with handball. They did it with offside. Very simple.
Yeah. Chris, what do you make of VAR this season?
It's a tough one because I think the idea and the concept is good. Like Josh said, the issue with the VAR is how we implement it in England. I think obviously Germany were one of the first countries to use it in the league. It took them a season or two to kind of really get the full benefits of it and kind of understand it and use it fully.
Yeah.
It's one of them. I think they've got to kind of define exactly what they're going to use it for. Because if you look at the weekend, for example, using VAR to put an end to reckless tackles and bad decisions. Well, that clearly hasn't happened because of the few tackles that happened over the weekend. I know there was some red cards, but there's a couple that took place, and you think, well, why aren't they're dealing with it? It's kind of it's the idea when they say, well, the pitch side officials have seen it, so they can't make a decision. But some of these things, like Josh said about clear and obvious, some of them they are clear and obvious. It's clear and obvious foul, injury, whatever it may be. And when it comes down to offside, it really is tough. Nice one, cheers, Diego. It's tough when it comes to offside because realistically, it comes down to your offside. Either part of your body that you can score with is offside, and it seems to be that players' arms, elbows, shoulders, and stuff like that are offside. And you think, well, arms and things like that, you can't score with your arms. So some of it just doesn't make sense. It's the inconsistencies, and I think as Chris Welsh has said on the screen here, it is realistically, we've got the technology there. The referees need to use it, and I think in all fairness, I think Josh mentioned it earlier. We are a lot better than we were last season. It almost seemed like if the referee had made a decision or had not made a decision, then VAR would almost, they'd just support it regardless. And it was almost like we can't go against the referee because we're all in it together and we don't want to be seen as making a mistake. But if you put yourself in that situation, surely you want the mistake to be rectified. So it does seem like it's getting better, but there's still real grey areas. I think the main one is offside, in all fairness. So
yeah, absolutely. This isn't the first person to ask you this, Josh. Why is Josh sat in the dark?
I knew that was coming.
I literally live in darkness. The only light I get from my gaming screen and my two computer screens. I have no light in this room otherwise, so just about. I think it looks quite nice. I think it looks decent though.
Simmer down, Batman. Simmer down.
Hello to that United family. Hope you're doing well. Chris Welsh says offside law, handball rule to VAR both need sorted out too. Yeah,
the handball rule has changed.
Connor is in. If it's not perfect, then don't use it. Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. Liz Golden, hello to you. Football is, and that is what I want.
Yes.
Phil Jones is my hero.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I actually have here's the question I want to ask. Actually, no, wait. We'll come on to it later. Come on. It's
Oh,
hard.
Dan.
I know exactly who he's going to ask, and that's the worst thing. He's going to be like, oh, this, do that.
Evening, gents. Hello.
Put it this way, anything to do with Phil Jones, you can shove up your arse. And that includes his family. No offence. Like, what a shame to have him as a bloody football hero.
Yeah. So we're talking about VR. We'll talk about the Premier League. Now we do know that there is one game going on right now, and if anyone has paid £15 to watch this game, then I feel sorry for you. It's currently West Brom 0, Burnley 0. So if you've paid £15 to watch that, then again I do feel sorry for you. But let's start with the informed team right now in the Premier League, and that is Aston Villa. Chris, what a fantastic result for you guys last night. It's nice to get revenge over Leicester for the 4-0 last season, but what did you make of your performance against Leicester?
Obviously, we spoke about it on our channel last night, and in some ways, it was almost a better win than against Liverpool, because we'd almost kind of, in the win against Liverpool, it was like we'd almost shown all our cards in terms of our strengths, how we could hit teams on the counter and things like that. And what they did was Leicester City, they kind of crowded the midfield. So it stopped the likes of Louise, McGinn and Barkley until he got that chance at the end. It stopped them from getting the ball and being able to kind of get it out wide quickly to Trezeguet, to Grealish, forward to Watkins. It was very cagey. I think going for the stats last night, pretty much everything was even. I think possession-wise, I think Leicester City was 50.0%, obviously with 49.9. Shots 11 to 10 in Leicester's favour. Pass accuracy, both completed around 300 passes, both around 75% possession. Same amount of passes in the attacking third. So it was cagey. I don't think either team wanted to lose, and you could see by the way that we set up. But yeah, great win. And we've said a number of times this season that last season we only won games when we pretty much played out of our skin. So every win we had last season, you look at it and think, yeah, we played really, really well. Yeah. And you can't always. I know it's an odd thing. It's an odd one, but you can't always. You need to at times win games by not playing well. And I suppose we've done that this season. The Fulham game, we won 3-0, but we weren't particularly at the races. Last night, I think 0-0 was a fair result. Last season, there was a lot of those games, whether it was 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, where we were level late in the game, and you probably said we deserve a point here.
Yeah,
and we came away with nothing. And last night we deserved a point, and we came away with 3 points. So it's just having that extra bit of quality. I think Ross Barkley doing that, but yeah, performances since lockdown, really post lockdown, have gone up massively. And last night was a kind of professional performance. We weren't outstanding. We were solid at the back, really, really solid. I don't think they had any real clear chances. Martinez made that one save at the start in the first half from, I can't think who it was. I think it was Castagna at the near post. It was a good performance. It was even, but it was just fantastic to get that late winner. So delighted to go 4 wins from 4. I think it took us 13 games last season to get beyond 12 points, and obviously we've got to it in 4 games this season. So it's just amazing. I think it's kind of reflects how the season's going so far in terms of the no game is a given. And Leicester, like you say, they beat us 4-0 at their place last season. They beat us 4-1 at our place last season as well. So they put 8 past us in the league last season and absolutely destroyed us. I know they had a couple of injuries, but they still had a fairly decent squad out there. And it's a great start from us, and no complaints from me. It's all good.
Do you think there's anything else in terms of management? Could be like maybe Dean Smith has changed something around that might be more effective this time than last season? Because I think what you've got right was I don't rate him as much, and I've always said the same opinion. I don't rate Ross Barkley, but he's done a good job at Aston Villa so far. One player I do like is Douglas Luiz. I feel like he does, once he settles in, he's a good midfielder, but it just depends really. So what do you think has changed from the end of last season when you were close to getting relegated, and now where you're currently sitting top of the league after about 4 or 5 games? So you're currently sitting top and you've done very well. So what would you say has changed for Dean Smith?
Well, before lockdown, March, I think last game was in March when we ironically lost against Leicester 4-0. Before then, we ranked bottom in terms of shots conceded. So we were having most shots against us during a game, and even games where we performed relatively well, we were having, teams were having 20, 25, 30 shots against us, whether they're on or off target. You can't sustain that, without conceding multiple goals. So we were the worst in terms of shots conceded. Post lockdown, we were the 4th best. So we had the 4th fewest shots conceded, behind Man City, Liverpool, and Wolves. So obviously, the 2 best teams in the league last season, and then Wolves, who obviously they're fairly good. They're fairly good defensively, but so there was a big improvement. I think a few of the players said at the back end of last season that we had a lot of Zoom like conferences and meetings. Yes, Chris. Like obviously defensively.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that comment.
Yeah. So we had, we'd worked on stuff. So last season, so post lockdown, even though obviously we lost against Man United 3-0, lost 2-0 against Liverpool, lost 2-1 against Chelsea, 0-0 against Sheffield United, just about. And then we I think it was our last 4 games, we got 8 points from our last 4 games. Obviously they were the points that kept us up, but essentially in all those games we were just harder to beat, and it was a case of building from the back. I think that helped massively. And as you mentioned, Douglas Luiz, people go on about Jack Grealish, and he's our best player by far. In all fairness, he's fantastic. But post lockdown at the back end of last season, Douglas Luiz, he was by far our best player. He was fantastic, and it was a case of he settled. We bought him in at the start of last season, I think £15 million from Man City. Bargain. And when we signed him, I don't think Man City wanted to get rid of him. They put a buyback clause into the deal. And when 2 years prior to us signing him, Man City bought him from Sao Paulo, possibly in Brazil. And the idea was for Douglas Luiz to be the heir to Fernandinho's throne in that holding midfield. They couldn't get a work permit because obviously when it comes to work permit, point scoring, he's got to rank so high in terms of the transfer fee, the wages, and obviously a percentage of games played. So being at Man City, he's not going to be a high earner. The transfer fee is relatively low, and he's not going to play as often as others. He would have been understudy to Fernandinho. So him coming to us, £15 million, Reece, as you say, I think it is a bargain. But in terms of our business last year, that was one of our bigger deals. Wages, obviously, aside from kind of Jack Grealish, you only really need to pay him, 40 grand a week for him to be one of the higher earners. And obviously he plays most games, and he was fantastic last season. He's not your typical, say, holding, ball-winning midfielder, your likes of maybe Ndidi or Fabinho, someone like that. He just reads his game so well. And that was a massive thing for us because obviously last season, a big part of us conceding so many shots per game was not just the defence, but it was the players in front. And Douglas Luiz helped improve that. And then, so we've carried that into the season. And we've made 5 signings. And I don't think you could say that any of them, I think they've all been excellent signings. Martinez has been fantastic. We mentioned last night, there was a few chances that Leicester had, not clear-cut chances, but they're decent efforts from 20, 25 yards out that are hitting relatively decent efforts, and he was diving to his left or to his right, and he was catching them. You know,
massive mistake from Arsenal letting them go. Massive mistake.
Yeah,
massive
mistake.
I think for them, it's kind of that financial, side of things, being able to sustain things. So obviously with Leno, they've got a £25 million goalkeeper, and they'll probably pay him a decent wage because he's a good goalkeeper. But then to have Martinez, and it kind of makes sense to be able to sell him and recoup some of the money that they need. So I think going forward, Martinez massive signing. He was brilliant. Last night,
Guys, it was finished 0-0 at the Hawthorn, so I feel sorry for anybody who watched that game.
Anyone in the chat, so far, you've got to top that comment because that's the best comment so far.
Yeah, fantastic. I think that's.
I watched it for free, it was too expensive. But to be fair, West Brom an expensive. Jesus, can't even say it. An expensive case of boredom. So. Yeah, when they pay £15 for that, I'd rather get a chippy or a KFC.
From one smiling person to probably a very frustrated person, Josh.
Oh, Chelsea next. Get it up, yeah!
Oh, Josh.
That's what happens, mate, when you bottle games.
Oh, Josh, what happened?
Chelsea are just that typical team that capitulate at half-time. We just don't know how to play second halves of games. We just don't know how to do it. We are literally incapable. It's like all the players were educated to play 45 minutes of football and the next 45 just to put their feet up and take their wage and go home. Chelsea in the first half played unbelievably well. It was the best football we've played all season. That first 45 minutes, you'd think we would dominate that game. But I truly think that goal just before half-time when Danny Ings went around Kepa and put it in really, really changed the game. I think Chelsea's frickle backline with the frickle keeper, that's not even a goalkeeper, who's on scale of wage. He should be living on the street. He should be living in the streets back in Bilbao in Spain. But, the biggest problem with Chelsea is once Chelsea concede a goal or once they're on the back foot, they have no confidence no structure, no mentality to hang in there and stay in the game. They kind of just I just don't know how to describe it. Kepa, what the flip was Kepa doing for that second goal?
Kepa can't keep a secret, mate, let alone save a shot.
Kepa literally came out. He came out to try and save the ball, but he kept his knees under him and together, he wasn't spreading himself out. He was. Oh.
You know what's good, mate? I mean, Abul kindly calls me Reece Rants after my rant last week, but see right now, call me a smug bastard because I'm enjoying this.
Chelsea show. I think Chelsea were summed up perfectly in those two halves. The first half is what the attacking threat can do. The second half showed how defensively terrible we are. We are honestly no better defensively than a League Two team. And I would be surprised if Sophia come to the bridge tomorrow and tank us. Absolutely tank us. I think for me, Chelsea need Mendy and Nets, and we need a top-class centre-half. And I will tell you that every single week on this podcast, except for the international breaks, I will probably be banging my head off the wall about how bad we are defensively. And the question
You're not going to be the only one.
And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. By the looks of it, Lampard has 5 weeks to sort things out, or he's gone.
Who do you think's going to replace him? Because I've seen a lot on Twitter, just random tweets, and it's Chelsea fans saying we don't want Pochettino. I think I seen a tweet that said "fuck Pochettino, fuck Man United." This is a legit tweet, by the way. Fuck Poch. Fuck Man United, we'll take Allegri and then Lampard can go somewhere else. That was a legit tweet. I don't know who tweeted it, but I seen it. I was like, Allegri to Chelsea? That makes sense. I mean, they like Italian managers.
I don't necessarily blame Frank Lampard completely on this. I think, Chelsea's game, wasn't much. Could Frank Lampard really do much about the two first goals Chelsea conceded? Is that really Lampard's fault? Is it all to do with Mendy was injured. Mendy was Kepa's on 170k a week.
Christ.
He's on 170k a week, and the reason Kepa's still Chelsea's number 1, he's the number 2, but he was Mendy was injured with Senegal on international duty. Chelsea managed by Matchweek, who actually. Yes, I think Lampard's lack of managerial experience shows. He shows a lack of in-game management. I think Reece would agree. The same with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Lampard and Solskjaer have no in-game management. They adapt to in-game situations, and I think that does come with experience at the top level. Yeah. But I think the 2 goals that we conceded were both defensive mistakes. That Lampard were both individual mistakes. That Lampard really isn't. What can Lampard do on the sideline? Can Lampard click his get control Kappa like FIFA? It's not the way.
I think the only difference between, and I'm not going to be a devil's advocate and get all full defensive because he's my manager, but I think the difference between Solskjaer and Lampard is you see it in games he'll sit there on the bench and he'll only move when he needs to, but he shuts up shop and holds a defence better than Lampard does. But I think the only difference is you guys create more chances, and that's the bit that pisses me off.
Connor, that is a fantastic comment. Kepa to be the next manager of Chelsea. Quite possible. Oh, Josh's internet has let him down, I see. Chelsea owner is brutal, which is a worry for Lampard. Yeah, Chris, you're absolutely right. Sir Klopp says Lampard won't finish the season. Yeah.
Karen's spot on. Karen's comment spot on, although my name is not Pepsi Max, I just drink Pepsi Max.
Yeah, nice product placement. Nice product placement, I'd have to say as well. Pepsi Max did say in the United channels that Frank would be sacked by November, isn't it right, Reece?
I said end of November, yeah, he'd be sacked.
Yeah. Josh is back.
And Josh can't argue with that comment because he knows I'm right. I said Lampard would be sacked by end of November.
I don't think he's frozen again.
I don't think he's frozen. I think he's angry.
He looks angry.
Hulk smash! Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's brilliant, Chris.
He's powered by his lights.
Absolutely.
Oh, when he sees that comment, he is going to... look at his face. I mean, not a frozen face. That's perfect.
Yeah, I suppose we better move on and talk about Manchester United.
That's
a very good 4-1 win. I see you're wearing a very classic Man United top from 2002-2003.
Spot on, my favourite shirt.
Yeah, I remember
favourite home
that shirt.
Yeah, it's my favourite home shirt, but it's for sentimental. Favourite shirt for sentimental reasons.
There we go. Tell me about the Newcastle game. What were your thoughts?
Can I say shocked?
Yeah.
And I don't say that in the sense of, it's my club and I would expect a 4-1 result, but just the way we've been lately, I didn't think we would score 4. I was like, it's great that we scored goals, but I thought we would only score. I thought it was going to be a 2-2 draw. And you know that because I've commented on your podcast, but then I was like, I want to go for a win. So every other tweet I seen, I was like, I want us to win, so I'll say 2-1. I'll keep my official scoreline for your podcast, but I'll have 2-1 as I want some 3 points. But to be fair, it's not that we're in the best state. It's just we're just trying to get back to form. We didn't have a pre-season. It was pretty obvious, but obviously that's because of COVID. Situations isn't there. You can only go with what you've got, and obviously it was great that I've not been a critic of him, but I've just been saying, I need a break. But it's great to see that Harry Maguire got a goal and he had a very good performance. That's something that he's had an issue with, especially for England when he got sent off. I know, with Chris being English, he knows that I said I was a bit wary of Maguire playing. We were on a podcast last week discussing England's best international team. Also, me being Scottish, I gave a neutral opinion. I said Maguire in the squad, if he's at his best, great. The way he is right now, I wouldn't have him, because I don't want him to get in an even worse situation. But he has certainly turned things around. He's not in the squad tomorrow. Him and Bailly are out. So that's going to be interesting in terms of first choice centre-backs. They're out. But to be fair, Verratti and Herrera's out, so at least we've got a midfield win. What I will say is, against Newcastle, we took our chances. The Wan-Bissaka getting his first goal for the club after his 50th appearance is fantastic. Bruno Fernandes was fantastic as well.
Cracking
Unfortunately,
goal.
yeah, it was phenomenal. The no-look back pass from Rashford helped. What I will say is I thought Mata, being the best player on the pitch, was unlucky to give them a goal offside. It would have ended up 5-1 if that would have been 5-1 if that didn't happen. Overall, great performance. We take our stride. We're sitting 14th in the league. It's fine. But if results go our way, especially against a certain blue team that we're going to beat soon, we'll be in the top half of the table. I'm fine with that. Give or take, we'll see. But at the minute, fantastic. And who knows where we're going to go now. But I'm still saying we're going to win tomorrow. I'm more confident of us beating PSG than Chelsea getting a job over Sevilla.
Yeah, Chris has made a very good point here. Be interesting if United players perform in upcoming games. PSG, Chelsea, and Arsenal. They can't be judged on beating teams like Newcastle. Let's see what United do in 10 games. I'm going to say now.
Spot on.
I think United will beat Chelsea. I'm actually saying that now. I think United will beat Chelsea. I
think Chelsea will struggle in the counter-attack like they have every single time. The issue is if Thiago Silva plays, I don't think he'll have the legs to keep up with that United 4 with the pace that they'll hit us with. I think Thiago Silva will struggle. Mendy should be okay for the game, but I don't think a goalkeeper's going to make a difference when you've got 4 really, really incredible 4 fast players running at you. I think this is the difference. Will Lampard have learned from last year? He learned in the FA Cup, and that's why he played it back free, and that outdid United. But the question is, has Lampard learned in his general? This will show, can Lampard adapt? Has he learned? Or will he go out and do the same thing that he did that gives United the win? And before my internet provider decided it had enough of its life and kicked me out. I think we are identical to Liverpool in a sense of we have the attack, but if we got a proper centre half and a proper focal goalkeeper, we could be fighting for the league. I think Chelsea are literally where Liverpool were a couple of years ago when they had Mignolet and without Van Dijk. I feel like we're an Alisson and a Van Dijk away from being up there.
It's just like what we said. It's just like what we said in the very first podcast when you said Maguire was the first piece in the puzzle. Like, it's the same for Chelsea. Chelsea have got some things that they need to improve on. What I will say is everybody here, like Doug and all that, Taran in the chat, they know I'm a massive fan of Timo Werner. I was annoyed that you signed him. I'm glad that he's firing goals. I'm just annoyed that he's firing for the wrong bloody team. But what I will say now is you just need to get your defence sorted. And I think maybe going back to a back 3 long term is better than playing 4. Yeah. I don't think he's tactically good enough for a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3.
I think the current defence we have, yes, I think a back 3. I think it's Thiago Silva. I think long term we'll need 2 centre halves to be able to recover the pace. To recover the paces in behind. But I don't think Lampard will play a back 3 once a season. I cannot play a back 3.
Based on your current defence, so you've got Christensen, Tomori, Malang Sarr, you've got Thiago Silva, you've got
Malang Sarr's at Porto.
Oh, is he at Porto? Cheers.
Porto.
You've got that clown Rudiger.
Zuma.
Who?
Kurt Zuma.
Oh, sorry, I was busy using Zoom. Hold on. That was a bad joke. Who would you use in that? He doesn't have the pace, but you have to have Thiago Silva in there regardless. Like, he's still one of the best defenders in the world.
Kurt Zuma and Thiago Silva. Yeah, someone made a mistake, but every centre half makes a mistake in football. Kurt Zuma and Thiago Silva are by far the best partnership at Chelsea. Christensen, I've said it, as Doug has heard me say this over and over again. Christensen is not physical enough to be a centre back in the Premier League. He doesn't have the physicality to do it in any shit way for him. And as you said, Rudiger's a clown. That speaks for itself. And Tomori is young. He's a third choice. He's a third choice.
I mean, I'm a fan of the German national team. That's how much of a clown that I rate Rudiger, mate. Because he shouldn't even get a chance into that squad.
Terrible. No, he's terrible.
He is. I think the only good thing about him is he's strong.
Do you think that? Because I know it's early days. But do you think when Chelsea sign those players who they've bought this season, that they bought them with a plan, or they've just gone for, big names, Werner, Havertz, I can't think who else they've bought off the top of my head. I just feel like they haven't got he doesn't know exactly where he's going to play them. Werner's played out wide sometimes. He played through the middle at the weekend.
Yeah.
I just get the impression he's not quite sure where to play him. I know Havertz kind of, he's a number 10, isn't he? And he always plays there. But looking at that, the money they've spent last season, they were crying out for a kind of commanding centre half who's going to be first choice. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a keeper, they've sorted that out. In theory, whether Mendy's going to be better, I imagine he is, because probably anything's better than Kepa. And also probably a winger to go on the other side to Pulisic, because when he's up there with one of the best in the league, Pulisic is as a winger. And I just felt they haven't really kind of addressed those positions on the pitch. They've kind of gone Werner, yes, Havertz, yes.
What I don't understand is why Hudson-Odoi doesn't get a game, because I think he's a decent winger.
Yeah, Hudson-Odoi is a funny one, because he was maybe going to Bayern Munich, and I think everyone's known that Bayern Munich have been linked with him for absolute ages, and he's been another one. I don't think Frank Lampard knows his best team yet. Is that something? Would you agree?
The biggest problem was I said Chelsea bought the right players at the wrong time. Chelsea bought all of these new players, and Lampard had one pre-season game to get to figure out what his team was, and then he had the international break. Lampard's first couple of games, he is trying to figure out his best team, because he hasn't had a pre-season to get his best team figured out. So Lampard is figuring this out in the middle of a Premier League season. So I feel like the difference in the back fours, seeing Werner to the left, seeing Werner down the middle, seeing Havertz a striker and Havertz a right wing. This is Lampard's pre-season trying to figure that team out. So if Chelsea bought these players last year when he had a full pre-season, it could probably be a whole different story. And what you say about the wingers is absolutely correct. Chelsea struggle. I said, Doug will back me up on this. Before the season began, I said wingers was going to be a massive problem for Chelsea this year, especially when Ziyech got injured in the preseason game against Brighton. So Lampard does not know his best team. He hasn't had a preseason to know his best team. Very similar to Man United. Lampard and Solskjaer trying to figure this all out right in the middle of a hot intake season. Could come back. Obviously, that could and mean they lose their jobs. But I think Chelsea, this is just a case that we all knew it's going to take a few weeks for Chelsea to finally see. And that first half against Southampton tells me that we're moving in the right direction.
You know what I would say is obviously you don't always have to go for a big. We always talk about the big managers going to the big clubs and all that. And I said on another channel not that long ago that people know I'm a massive fan of Nagelsmann, but if that never happened and say for example we still stuck with Ollie and he succeeded, what I would look at is somebody else who also knows the league but just a little bit of an unknown as well. So I was thinking for either Chelsea or Man United perhaps down the future, Ralph Hasenhüttl.
I think Ralph Hasenhüttl is one of the most underrated managers in the league. I think his style of play is just the Premier League extremely well. He's a great tactician. He knows how to make Southampton an absolute pest to play against. There's not one team that would roll over Southampton easily. Even 2-0 down, they're straight back in the game. I think Hasenhüttl probably could do a job at Chelsea. I think he could do the job, but my question is, could he sort that defence? I don't think the defence is a problem in terms of the structure of the way Chelsea play. If you look at Chelsea's goals they conceded this year, it comes down to game management and individual mistakes, and also the fact that Kepa is in net. So to blame Lampard fully on this is incorrect. But the thing is, in football, no matter what the mistakes are, if you're not getting results, the manager's the first one to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's move away from Chelsea to basically, how do I put this? Tottenham Hambull. 3-3 against West Ham. Absolutely unbelievable. Tottenham, to their credit, 3-0 up inside 16 minutes. And then the comeback of all comebacks. And, I mean, you're not going to see a better strike this season than Lanzini's. I mean, he hit that. It is hit so perfectly that is going into the back of the net. Maybe people could say Lloris should have done better as well, but I'll come to Chris on this one. What did you make of West Ham's comeback against Tottenham?
Just ridiculous. I watched the game. I like watching Spurs, to be honest. I like to see. Big fan of Son, Kane. Obviously, wanted to see Bale. You could see that they were their best chance of getting into it or getting a goal was from a set piece, and obviously that's how they got back into it. And I think a lot of Spurs fans have. I mean, it's only early days, but have kind of made a thing about their defence so far this season. They've got a number of central defenders, and I don't think Jose knows who his best pairing is. I think they've struggled. They've struggled like to have a commanding defender. It's a tough one. I think that was a problem. I think if you look at that team, even you've got Toby Alderweireld. He's a good defender, but he's not a kind of vocal, commanding centre back. So they conceded that goal. They needed somebody to someone experienced to, give them a bit of something. And they just kind of fell apart. I think they'll, because the first half they could have gone in at half time, 4-5-0 up. Their goals were brilliant. I mean, fair play to West Ham. They did well. They kind of, played to their strengths. I thought when Antonio went off, I thought that was kind of their chance because obviously, he's been their best player for the last 6 months. He's kind of been the focal point of their attack, stretching teams, etc. But a brilliant goal to pull it back. And I think all Spurs fans just could not believe it because first half performance, you'd have looked at it and thought, wow, there's no way West Ham are coming back into this. So fair play to West Ham, but I think Spurs will be disappointed and they'll look at that and I think they signed Joe Rodon from Swansea, who's a centre half. I can't see him getting into their first team anytime soon. Despite their defensive troubles, but I kind of think, would they be better off spending, the 20 million on a more established centre half? I don't really know. I think Sanchez cost a lot of money when they brought him in. He struggled at times. Eric Dyer has got a lot of good attributes, but he kind of, makes a lot of rash decisions. Toby Alderweireld, I think a couple of years ago, he was one of the best in the league. His form has dropped off massively. I think a big part of that is, when you look at the Spurs team going back, 2016, 17, around that time, you almost could pick it, couldn't you, straight off? And there was a lot of good partnerships. I think because of that defence, he's not sure who his first choice is. There isn't those partnerships like you could have had Jan Vertonghen and Toby Alderweireld at the back. Now you've got, you can't really, you don't know who out of those defenders who you can pick. So it's a tough one for them. Attacking wise, Spurs deserve 3 points all day long, but that's the Premier League for you, isn't it? And like I said, fair play to West Ham, but I think Spurs fans will just be tearing their hair out.
I think something that goes under the radar a wee bit with Spurs is that you talk about their defence. Yeah, defensively their centre halves are good. Eric Dyer's a decent centre half on his day. Sanchez is quite good. Alderweireld's got the experience. They don't have a proper CDM. Spurs don't have that CDM who can sit in front of that back four and give them that protection. West Ham's showing that. West Ham kind of ran through that midfield of Spurs really, really easily. They don't have someone who can protect the back four and sit there. And we all know, if you look back at Jose Mourinho's past teams, you can always name every single CDM who Mourinho had, who was a standard player. You can't do that with Spurs, and that is what Spurs are missing defensively. They don't have a CDM who can give that protection on the transaction, leaving that back four completely exposed.
I mean, you can name just like some of the best ones he's ever had. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you could think about some of the best CDMs he's ever had, and the greatest CDM he's ever had joined in a free transfer from a certain Real Madrid, and that was Claude Makelele. Probably the best defensive midfielder he's ever had, but he's never going to have another defensive midfielder like him. And obviously, I think right now he'd gladly take Matic, but I think not Chelsea. I think Spurs' biggest problem is people are calling it a Moyes masterclass. I mean, for fuck's sake, Moyes doesn't have anything to do with masterclasses. He's just lucky that his players turned up in the second half.
They were so poor in that first half, though. Tottenham dominated that first half, and it was only until Gareth Bale came on when he missed that chance, I was like, West Ham are going to get back into this.
That was absolutely hilarious.
Since the second goal went in, the OG from Sanchez, you're thinking West Ham are going to get something. They're going to get something out of that. But Incredible, absolutely incredible game of football.
Literally, West Ham were better when Moyes was back at home self-isolating.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. I mean, one thing you can say as well is the players were just out there because it was a derby. I mean, you don't want to lose a derby, but frankly, like, you just know Chelsea fans would be like, well, we can collapse, but there's nothing funnier than hearing Mourinho going about his team saying, "Oh, we're psychologically weak." I mean, like, fuck's sake, like Daniel Levy will be sitting there going, like, I give this guy all this money and he calls my players weak.
Mourinho's post-match conference were weird. He said West Ham were lucky, but we were just unlucky. His comments after the game were weird. He was just saying, like, maybe credit to West Ham, but we should have won the game. But they were lucky that we were unlucky. It was just I don't understand. Murray's just weird with his pre-match comments,
Like, West Ham were lucky. Like, we're all going to agree that. Like, West Ham were lucky, but like Spurs, like, they did, and I can't believe I'm going to compare this because my love for Italian football and one particular team, they did an AC Milan exactly that. They were 3-0 up. They were in complete control, and they just completely bottled it. And it just sums up their mentality and the fact, like, I agree, like, with one of your comments before, Josh, they do lack a proper defensive midfielder, and they're using, like, Harry Winks can't play there, Ndombele can't play there. He isn't capable of that role, and neither is Moussa Sissoko.
They're progressive centre midfielders, aren't they? They get the ball and they move forward. They're kind of, they are physical, but they're not going to sit in front of the back four and break up play. They'll break up the play higher up the pitch, but that's just because of their physical presence. But I think it's bang on.
The only CDM they have is Eric Dyer, but obviously he's been confirmed to a centre back, so that leaves them with literally no CDM in the squad. I'm surprised Mourinho didn't go for one. I'm very surprised he didn't go for one.
Yeah. Here comes Reece.
Just because Ibrahimovic put a double past you, simmer down.
West Ham weren't lucky as ever. We will be coming to that. But very, very quickly, Manchester City beat Arsenal by 1-0. Raheem Sterling got the winner. What's happened to Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang though?
He's doing what he does best. He goes missing.
Ever since his new contract, he hasn't. I don't even think he's even scored, which is bizarre.
He's got the same amount of goals as Wan-Bissaka. I mean, I could say the same about Firmino, but he's not scored.
Scored against Fulham, didn't he? Was that first game of the season? Good goal as well, to be fair. But yeah.
First goal,
First game of the season, yeah, definitely. But a very good win for Manchester City, and but yeah, like I seen Arsenal fans on Twitter saying that it was much a better improvement to lose 1-0 against Man City. I mean, come on,
how?
Like I know they lost 1-0, and I know Man City haven't been firing on all cylinders as well. But Man City, for me, were there for the taking at the weekend, and they completely played poor. I thought Man City were very, very good. To be fair, I thought they were really, really good. Poor old Alexander Mitrovic, though. What a game he had! Missed a penalty for Fulham, and then he concedes a penalty. Ademola Lookman scores against Sheffield United, and then Sheffield United scored from the penalty spot. Billy Sharp, who else as well? Chris, are you a bit worried for Sheffield United this season?
I mean, we spoke about Sheffield United a few times. They obviously we played them. Obviously, we're in the Championship and they were very good. They were one of the better sides when they came up a couple of years ago, and obviously a big part of their game was obviously there's the tactics, the overlapping centre backs, which it's a tough one to defend against. It's kind of what's coming, but also it's kind of the overloads on each side. You've got the fullback, you've got the overlapping centre backs, you've got each side of Ollie Norwood centre midfielders coming across, so at times they get crowded out, and that's how they got a lot of their goals, in all fairness. But
yeah,
I think because it's so unique, it is hard to defend against, but obviously teams do come savvy to it. I think a big thing as well is they came through the leagues from League One to the Premier League with a lot of players that they had in that squad, and okay, there's that togetherness and that team spirit, and I suppose everyone knowing their job when they come through. But I think realistically in the Premier League, because it's become so competitive over the last 4 or 5 years, realistically you need lots of quality. And I think yesterday after the game, Chris Wilder said that they can't compete financially, but it's an odd one because they've got Ramsdale who cost 17 million, Brewster was 20. Sanderberger 17. They've got they've spent only I think 12 million less than we have done. So they're spending money. I just think they find themselves almost at a crossroads where they've got a style that's unique. So to sign players, the players have got to get used to a style that they've built over a few seasons under Wilder, with players that they've had for a number of years. And then obviously when they're buying the quality, it's kind of like you negate slightly on that style and that experience that you've got. But at the same time, they need that quality because you can't get through, you can't get through a Premier League season, 2 seasons without that quality. So it's going to be a tough one for them. And obviously, I think they are bottom of the league. They've just, I think that they probably have. I think they were. Last season, there were times, and they were just a team that they were just so solid, and they'd get forward and they'd get these shock results. I think there is an element where they can get found out. It is one of those styles that is unique, and they haven't just done it for last season. But again, I think the quality side of things a big one. It's like Wolves. Wolves came through from the Championship to the Premier League with a lot of players they had in the Championship, and they've just upgraded massively. Whereas Sheffield United haven't really massively upgraded, so it's going to be a tough one. They could certainly have the second season syndrome. I think for them to stay up, it depends on 3 teams being worse than them, and at the moment they possibly could be with the likes of Fulham and West Brom. It's about finding that third one, whether Burnley are going to drop in there or anyone else, possibly like Newcastle. I don't really know, but it's definitely going to be tough for Sheffield United.
Sheffield United just can't find goals from anywhere in the team, they will go down. You can be as good as you want defensively, but if you're not scoring goals, you're going to go down. That's been proven time and time and time again. But I will say this: they're not going to score goals this year because I don't think they have the quality to do it. And I feel like they have been figured out, attacking wise. But when they play Chelsea, they're going to score 4 goals anyway. So. Yeah, I think that just sums life up perfectly. I
mean, they've got McBurney as their number 9. That says it all, really.
Well, you look at their strike. You look at the strikers. They've got McBurney. They've got Sharp. They've got McGoldrick. You can't see realistically 10 Premier League goals, from any of them, can you? And you kind of need one who's going to be the talisman, and then a few others who are going to chip in. I just can't see them getting goals.
No.
I mean, Brewster's coming. Is he gonna be a decent sign? I mean, Doug, I don't know if you may know more about Brewster than the rest of us. I mean, he had 10 in 20 last season for Swansea. Is he gonna get the goals for them? I just don't know.
I don't think he's capable.
He was not worth 20 million. Don't know why. I don't know how he was bought for 20 million. Michael Edwards, masterclass right there with that.
If he's worth 20 million, and then I'm worth 40 million, I haven't played football in years. Says it all, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
He did well for Swansea last season. I think 10 goals in 20 games, but we'll see.
The only thing is, like, I was going to say quickly, is a lot of people had doubts about obviously when you go from the Championship to the Premier League. A lot of folk were saying that about Bamford, and look how he's started to kick on. He's kept Rodrigo out the side, so there's a chance Brewster might come in and do something. But then again, that's levels. Obviously, that's me actually praising a Leeds player, and that's a shocker. But the only one I would praise is Phillips.
Yeah, Calvin Phillips.
And the thing is, Sheffield United cannot rely on a 19-year-old to keep him in the Premier League. That's someone he cannot be relied on. He can't be expected to go in there and keep them up. It's a team collective. I think Sheffield United will stay up by the skin of their teeth. I feel like their performances aren't bad, and the goals will start coming at some point.
I think the one thing they need. Fantastic. I think the one thing they need to do, and if they want to stay up, is they need to keep the likes of John Egan, Norwood, Fleck, and do I want to say McBurney? No, just not because he's Scottish, but just because he's shit. Like they need to keep those key players fit. McGoldrick, Norwood, and Egan and Fleck. Keep them fit.
If I could do a high five with
Yeah,
you,
Norwood's a good player.
If I could do a high five with you, Reece, right now, I'm in total agreement. I do not rate McBurney.
He's so shit. McBurney. That's why we play Callum Patterson up front, and he's a bloody right back. That says it all. That says it all. When your country is picking your best number 9, and instead they're picking a right back, it says it all. Flaming Malky Mackay, you delusional prick.
Yeah.
We did a bit of analysis a number of weeks ago on our channel. This was taking Ollie Watkins into consideration. Obviously, you've mentioned McBurney, Brewster. These are strikers that have come from the Championship into the Premier League. So, on average, you get a lot of people say you need to be buying Premier League experience. A lot of people said that for us, and Watkins wasting money. You need to sign Premier League experience, but I think on average, if you sign, so this was taken into consideration, strikers signed from within the Premier League over the last, I think, from the start of history, and then strikers signed from the Championship or outside of the Premier League, so outside of England. So you're looking at La Liga and all this kind of stuff. So on average, strikers signed from inside the Premier League to another Premier League club score an average in their first season, and then they progressively go down. Whereas players signed from the Championship and outside of the Premier League, so La Liga, Serie A, etc., they score an average 12 goals in their first season, and then progressively go up. So you get better value for money going outside the Premier League, and obviously this includes the Championship. And there are a lot of players who we looked at them in particular. I looked at the last 10 years of the top scorer in the Championship coming into the Premier League, and I think most seasons, in all fairness, they've done relatively well.
That comment was just absolutely fantastic.
I'm just going to reply to Cian's comment as well. He mentioned Helder Costa to score against his former club. I'm going to say Helder Costa to score a hat-trick.
Oh, interesting.
Leeds to win 5-4 against Wolves.
5-4.
Wow.
Yeah, just because I'm daft, and there's just something about Bielsa. He's managing a shower of shite, but he's got a fantastic style of play, and he doesn't take any shit from anyone, so he's going to expect a good game. But I think there will be a lot of goals in that game. You just know, it's the two most interesting teams in the league in terms of style of play. There's going to be something about it. There's got to be goals in there, so I'm going 5-4 Leeds just because it's funny.
Interesting. Diego, Palace 1, Brighton 1. Very good draw in the end. Although, that was a sore one to take as well. We better get to the big game that was of the weekend. The Merseyside, the 237th Merseyside derby. And let's be honest, what a game it actually was. It was actually
I can slag off Liverpool.
It was actually nice to actually see some goals in the Merseyside derby. Wonderful game of football, it has to be said. Everton started very poorly, but got it back, and then the big talking point is Van Dijk's injury. Right, what I'm going to say now, okay? The amount of people I've seen on social media abusing Jordan Pickford and bringing his wife into it. Now, I'm sorry, that is not on. As soon as that happens, there are a lot of I think Merseyside police are actually looking at the footage of everyone's tweets as well. Honestly,
not surprised.
It's absolutely disgusting and disgraceful, the amount of abuse I've seen. Yes, Pickford has collided into Van Dijk. Yes, I get that. It was a bad tackle, and
it's football.
I've seen this might go back a wee while, Reece. Javier Sanchez broke his leg against Hibs. Just completely innocuous. Completely innocuous challenge. So
Scott Severin versus Celtic.
Yeah, these things happen. But let's be honest. It was a very good game, 2-2 in the end. But there were a couple of talking points, and we will come to them.
And I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something as well. For the first time in my life, I'm saying it in words because I've already commented it today. For the first time in my life, I agree verbally with Jamie Carragher.
I was just about to ask. Did you see what he said? Yeah.
I watched the comments again just before we went live tonight. So obviously I was out walking the dog, but I watched the comments first, and I watched them this morning as well. So I've had a chance to watch it twice, and I agree about the comments. I agree with number one. Like, Pickford did not mean any harm to Virgil van Dijk. So anyone that tweeted about saying, "Oh, he needs to be banned till then," like whenever he returns, absolutely not. That's ridiculous. Two, I agree that Michael Oliver is the best referee in the league, but he should be looking at the monitor. He shouldn't just have to be invited. He should go to the monitor. Thirdly, Graham Souness, he really needs to chill the hell out.
Oh, great! Honestly, Graham Souness does my absolute head in. Stephen McManaman as well. Like,
why is he Scottish?
That commentary. That commentary for the Merseyside derby, I thought was an absolute disgrace. Every time Steve McManaman, like every time like Liverpool had a chance, etc. Stephen McManaman was, urging. He's meant to be like socially, like,
neutral.
Neutral.
He's so biased. Like, he's so biased for Liverpool, and he's so biased against Man United. I'm like, for God's sake, get a grip and do your job.
By the way, referees aren't allowed to look at the monitor unless they're told to by the VAR official. So
but to be fair, he is the best. But to be fair, he is the best referee in the league. He should still be he should be taking more proactive. But one thing I will say is, Souness's comment. He was constantly berating the fact that why you only looking at the offside. Well, to be fair, they're not going to look at obviously when he mentioned that the tackle takes precedent over the offside. Yep, that is correct. 100%.
Absolutely. 100%.
Like, he was when he mentioned that the tackle should take more precedence over the comment itself of the offside. He's right and he's wrong. Yes, the tackle was a disgrace. I saw that tackle as well. That was horrible.
It was.
Yes, the tackle was horrible, and Pickford did not intend to cause Virgil van Dijk any harm. No player would go out to cause anyone harm unless something happened. And, like, the one thing I remember when it comes to football, there's only two instances in football that I know where a player has went out to hurt someone. The first is the Roy Keane tackle on Haaland, but that was Haaland's own fault. Yeah. Secondly, Zidane in the World Cup final over Matt Ratty. That was going to happen. But you don't go out and abuse someone, and you do not bring their family into it. It's ridiculous. Leave them out. They've got nothing to do with it.
Absolutely. Just going to ask you very, very quickly, Chris, what did you make of Richarlison's red card?
It's a bad one. He's just, I don't know. I think he's got that streak about him, hasn't he, Richarlison? Bit of a. I mean, I like Richarlison. I think he's a decent player. Probably not as good as he thinks he is, but he's a good player. But yeah, he's got that streak about him, and whether it kind of. Sometimes you get that with players. I think sometimes him being a bit of a nasty bastard kind of helps his game a bit slightly. Kind of gets at people, a bit niggly and stuff like that. And he just lost his head, didn't he? It was a bad tackle, in all fairness. Yeah, definite red card. No arguments really. He's
Doug,
been
pull
okay.
The latest comment.
You are sorry.
Pull up the latest comment, Doug, just for 1 minute.
Who?
Pull up the latest comment regarding a certain player. He is shit. Okay, you can take it off now. Chris, please continue. Please continue.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, it was. It's a red card. It's a bad tackle. He just lost his head, didn't he? I think. I mean, I'd say it happened in derbies. I think taking the fans out of it, obviously they're not taken out of it, but obviously the fans not being there, it's not as heated as it is, but there's still an element to it. So I think he just completely lost his head. But yeah, bad tackle, definite red card. And I think, that's it. There's no need for taking any other action against him. But yeah, he just lost his head, didn't he?
Yeah, Seamus Moore brings up a very good point. Richarlison's tackle could have been
Yeah.
a lot more serious on Thiago. Thankfully, it wasn't. I'm not even going to talk about VAR because I think we've kind of talked about it. One question that we are going to talk about though, and I'm gonna ask you all this, right? Sack race. Who gets sacked first? I will come to Reece first. Who's getting sacked first?
Well, Josh, don't worry. I'm not saying Lampard. He's getting sacked end of November though, but it's not Lampard. I am sticking with Sean Dyche.
Ooh.
Yep, I think if Burnley want to stay up, you sack him now. If Burnley want to stay up, sack him now and bring in somebody with some fresh ideas and somebody who wants to take the club forward. Because playing the same boring defensive football, yeah, fair enough if you want to stay up, but this is an attractive league. You want to show what you're capable of, and you're just hindering players. So, nah, I'm sorry. If for me, 100% Sean Dyche, Burnley. See ya.
Josh?
The sack race this year is actually a hard one to call, I think, because there's no manager you sit there and look at and thinking, they're destined to be sacked. I think it's going to be Scott Parker. I think Scott Parker. He doesn't have the experience in the Premier League. That defense. Fulham will learn from last time in the Premier League that you can only be as open defensively for a certain period of time before it's too late to rescue your saving. Because I think Chris would agree that Villa were extremely lucky to stay up last season, given how bad they were defensively before lockdown. So I think Scott Parker is on limited time. That's the team don't look like they're over the last couple of weeks have looked any good. They weren't even great against Sheffield United, who haven't been great themselves. I think Scott Parker's on limited time and will be gone.
Reece, I think there's a couple of people who are like asking you, what?
Yep.
You're
managed by your manager's Roy Hodgson. Just don't.
Chris, who do you think is going to be the first manager to be sacked this season?
I'll go agree with Josh. Scott Parker. I just think, he got them promoted. I think there was a big element of luck for him to get promoted last season. I think he's got Mitrovic in the Championship. He's one of the best strikers in the Championship. They were lucky to get up. And they've come up, and it's okay. Michael Hector, first choice centre back, coming into this season, they've realised how awful he is in 3 games, and then then they've gone and signed a couple of players. You can't be in the Premier League now. You can't be building defence on poor quality players or average players. Realistically. Fair enough if you've got defenders together who may have been cheaper, but you've kind of give them time together. But then he went out and bought, I think was it Anderson he bought in from Lyon, was it the centre half, who was injured for a few months. Tosin Adebayo, whatever his name is, he's come in from Man City on loan. He's not a bad player, but again, don't think he's good enough. Michael Hector's terrible. Adoy and Tim Ream, they're terrible as well. They kind of effectively failed for them when they were last in the Premier League. So it's got to be Scott Parker, and I'm confident that he will be the first one, because I think taking the chairman into consideration as well, he's got a bit of a ruthless streak. He's minted. He won't let his money go to waste. I get the feeling that with the likes of Chris Wilder and Sean Dyche, that there will be a bit of they've got a bit of kind of, money in the bank, so to speak, in terms of what they've done previously. They're not going to lose their job. And they're almost, they've been there, I say so long. Obviously, Dyche's been there longer than Wilder, but they've been there so long that, that I can't see them getting rid of them. I suppose what Reece says, getting fresh ideas. I just think they won't take that massive risk getting rid of Dyche. I think Scott Parker, and then I think after Scott Parker, Frank Lampard would be the one.
Yeah, definitely.
Football is, and that is what I want. Makes an interesting option. Slaven Bilic, maybe, I don't know. West Brom are known to make very strange decisions when it comes to managers. I mean,
Yeah, look at
Roberto
Darren
Matteo.
Moore.
yeah, true. I mean, they've had the option of strange managers before. I mean, they hired Tony Pulis, and look what happened to Serge Gnabry.
Yeah.
What I will say is, I don't. The only reason I've went and that's a fair comment, Seamus. That's a fair comment. You know, and I'm not going to single out any manager just because I want this. Like I've said before, I want if I could have a perfect end to this season, it would be Arsenal, Leeds, and Liverpool get relegated. It'd be Man United win the league, but that's a season of dreaming. But United will win the league eventually at some point. Scott Parker. Yeah, that says it all. What I will say is this: there are going to be managers with heavy bullseyes on their chest. Solskjaer's going to have one because he never escapes that point of Ollie in, Ollie out. It never shuts up on Twitter, social media. In fact, it just does not shut up. Lampard's going to have it because he's been backed heavily, so he's going to be looked at. Mikel Arteta's in his first full season now, and he's had big money spent as well, and he's got a big squad, and he's going to be tested. Mourinho, it's his second season, but he's had money, possible bullseye. But Daniel Levy, he's not one to be trigger happy, so you've got a chance. But I think the key difference here to sacking managers is who's likely to make the opportunity in order to ensure survival. And that, as I said, Sean Dyche purely because of the fact that it's a limited budget. And I laughed at Keane's comment because it's funny about the pointless addition to the league bar Man City, but there takes a time when eventually a manager has to go. And look at Eddie Howe. He was manager of Bournemouth for so many years, and they got relegated, and he left by mutual consent. I think Burnley are potentially going to take the risk, but the one comment I agree with Chris, it's a fair point, is the way things are going to go is Fulham are likely to make the risk because Fulham are a heavy sacking club.
Yeah.
They love to fire managers. Frankly, if they could line people up in a line, be like, "Hiya, how you doing? They would just pull the trigger. That's what they do. They're a trigger happy club. But
I mean,
I think
especially when you look
one
at,
manager doesn't
when
get
you
a
look
chance
at,
to Bielsa.
when Fulham got promoted, obviously 2 years ago with Jokanovic. They were brilliant when they went up. They brought him in. They won 22 games. They won on the bounce. Unfortunately, they lost on the last day when they could have gone up automatically. They beat us in the playoff final, and then he only lasted however many games. So he'd done really, really well, and then boom, got rid of him. So he pretty much did more than Scott Parker had done. Done better than Scott Parker because he had a full season. Was backed more. It was easier for Parker. And then he didn't get his chance. So I think you bang on with that, Reece.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think the one manager who we could all possibly agree on that's not getting sacked is probably Bielsa. Out of all of them, obviously the likes of Klopp and Guardiola, you're not really going to see them get sacked. But I think the one manager you're like, do you really think he's going to get sacked? No, and that's definitely Bielsa.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I'm going to be in agreement with Josh and Chris here. I think Scott Parker.
You're saying Parker as well, aye?
I'm going to say Parker. Yeah, I think he's on a shoogly peg, unfortunately. Right.
Here's an interesting one then. So you're saying Parker. So how long do you think before Fulham decide to let him go then? How long do you think? Half a season? A quarter of a season? Because there's no way that Fulham are going to wait until roughly mid-season, I think. If they're going to do it, if they're going to get rid of him, they're going to have to do it by at least Boxing Day.
Who have they got this weekend?
I'm checking it out. The next 4 games are home to Palace, home to West Brom, away to West Ham, and home to Everton. They're next 3 games to take. They're next 3 games are must win.
So they're taking 2 points from 12.
Is that those are games when you look at them, West Brom and Palace being at home as well. Being at home as well. They I suppose they're going to be expected to get at least 4 points out of them. I think.
I think the only thing is how is Scott Parker playing them? I haven't watched Fulham much of their season. So how are they set up right now?
4-2-3-1. Tries to high press. Tries to play attacking football, but they're so open at the back. It's not even funny.
So basically, they're trying to be Norwich, right? Okay, so
Kane is
They've changed it a bit. That they played 5 at the back against us, and they did it a bit last season as well. 5 at the back, tie it with 3 defenders, get the fullbacks high up the pitch, and whip it into Mitrovic, which is, and then you've got the likes of Tom Kearney and Harrison Reed in the box, keeping it ticking, and it's literally keep it ticking, get out wide, get it in the box, which it works to an extent. But Mitrovic isn't bad in the air, but he's no Calvert-Lewin.
No, that's Scotland.
That's
Scotland.
That is definitely.
You know what I've like? This is what I sum up Fulham. Excuse me. Has anybody ever watched Lee Nelson's Well Good show?
Yeah.
Right. So, Chris, you know where I'm going with this. Jason's 110% bent. I'm trying to find it on YouTube. There's a little segment, and he does a little football character, and he's called Jason 110% bent. And what he does is like, we're gonna win this game. We're gonna play a little 4-6-3. We're gonna play what? Yeah, we're gonna play a 4-6-3. You're a bit more on numbers, are you? He's like, aye, but it's okay. We're gonna sweep it under the carpet. I'm like, no, mate.
That is a great accent, Reece. I really like that.
I don't know what accent it is. It's just random, but it's based on it. But yeah, that sums it up. Really, is football is such a.
I think going back to your point, Reece, you mentioned about Sean Dyche.
Yeah.
I've made this point before about you look at going back. I think Pulis features twice here, but look at I think Middlesbrough, West Brom, and Swansea. So Swansea, I think when they got rid of what's his name? They got rid of Laudrup and they brought in Gary Monk.
Shock.
West Brom got rid of Pulis, and I can't think who came in after Pulis.
It was
Alan Pardew.
Really? I thought it was the wasn't it?
It was Alan Pardew who won one game, and that one win came at Anfield in the FA Cup, weirdly enough. And then he got sacked after an absolute winless game, and Darren Muir came in and just about nearly kept them up.
Yeah, and then obviously Pulis at Middlesbrough as well. They all had an identity. No, I'm thinking of Stoke. Pulis at Stoke. Stoke had the identity. Get the ball forward. Swansea had an identity. Good, short, sharp passing play. They kept the ball moving, didn't they? Passing, and then West Brom as well under Pulis, launching the ball forward. It's kind of target man football, that kind of stuff. They changed. Darren Moore came. Yeah. So they changed. They had a style of play and they had a philosophy, didn't they? Stoke changed. Mark Hughes came in, did okay initially. They just went downhill and they got relegated. They've not come back since. West Brom, obviously, they went downhill. They got relegated. It's taken them a couple of years to get back. But before that, West Brom, they'd sustained themselves in the Premier League for, I think, 7 years or something. And then the other team, then Swansea. Swansea were excellent in the Premier League for 3 or 4 years. They won the League Cup. And then they changed things for Gary Monk. And then again, they went down. And these are teams that, apart from West Brom, Swansea struggled to get back. And obviously Stoke have struggled as well. So it's having that philosophy and that style of play, which Burnley have. And it's not pretty, but that's what they've got. And they've got that embedded. And it's almost like you kind of take that away with the manager. Then you almost, you lose the identity and you could go in free fall.
I think that's the only thing, So I see your point. I see your point with that, lads. I do see your point. That's a good thing about the channel, and that's one thing we want to encourage in the chat as well. So there's a little plug to the chat. Is we want to have that open, honest debate, and that's what this is. That's what this podcast is literally about. Obviously, it's on Doug's channel. It's my show, but I think the best thing about right now, and we've actually forgotten 2 serial relegation fighting teams obviously are never going to come back to the Premier League, and that's Wigan and Sunderland. But they were the same. They were sacking managers left, right, and centre. Yeah,
absolutely.
Another thing about Burnley too, if you actually look at the statistics, Burnley never started a Premier League season off well. They didn't have a win of the 4 games statistically known. And as the season goes on, and as the defence is came in. And if you look at Sean Dyche's back four, his back four is actually more new than compared to what he's had before. So the team is kind of refreshed. So in that sense, Sean Dyche's team will improve as they go on, and they'll be mid-table and they'll get relegated. So statistically, this is nothing abnormal.
I don't want him to get sacked, but I think he will be. I don't think he will get sacked, but I wouldn't want him, of all people, to be like managers first, just because his press conferences are bloody hilarious. I watch them on YouTube all the time, but I feel based on I just feel like the times of everyone is with players, like teams changing, there's a chance he could be. But I think if we're all on a collective agreement, so Scott Parker relegated first, then.
Yeah, I would say so. Right. The unthinkable happened at the weekend. Real Madrid and Barcelona
lost
at the weekend. Now, I put in the title, are Atletico Madrid now genuine title contenders? Reece, what do you think about Atletico Madrid this season?
Different, lining things up a little bit more. I think as much as I'm going to slate them, and obviously Taran's going to agree, I fucking hate Luis Suarez, but what I will say is the one thing he guarantees you goals, and obviously that's what, and I think they're going to need that this year. I mean, they've got Felix, who I don't know when he's going to start scoring goals effectively game after game, but they've still got Diego Costa, so he's going to get you goals, and you've got Koke, Sal Niguez, you've got Thomas Lemar, you've got Angel Carrera, you've got Trippier for creative, and you've got Lodi at left back. They've got the best goalkeeper in world football in Oblak. I will take that to my grave. He is the best goalkeeper in world football until someone else comes along. Don't know who. But it's not Neuer. He's still in the top three, but he's not the best goalkeeper in world football. The one thing they've done is they've spent wisely. They've used the defensive shape effectively. Diego Simeone, he just gets better season after season. I think he'd be great in the Premier League, just the way he is. Losing Thomas Partey was a problem. That dynamic midfielder, but they're going to have to adapt with that. To be fair, they never really lose much in terms of players. In terms of if they lose a player, they react. I've always said it.
Sorry, I actually agree with this comment. I don't like Atletico in the slightest, but I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't like Suarez to drag them to the title, stick to Barcelona. I still don't want to succeed in Europe, though. Honestly, Barcelona treated Luis Suarez like absolute rubbish. It was horrible.
It was horrible, and that's unfortunately that is football. Is there's going to be sides where it happens, but look at and football, my family's divided. I mean, I'm a Man United fan, but if Spanish football wise, I would lean towards Real Madrid because Raúl, Morientes, Hierro, Salgado,
unbelievable players,
unbelievable. Guti Helguera, I'm a big fan, but I would lean towards them in the sense of which team I would support if I wasn't. What the hell? Hold on, boys, 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries.
There we go. I would lean towards them, but I think
football isn't that is what I want. Which Madrid? You haven't mentioned it. Is it Atletico? Chris, what do you think? What do you think?
Is that me? Because if it is, I can fuck off.
Chris, what have you made of how obviously with Real Madrid and Barcelona both losing, do you think Atletico Madrid are genuine title contenders this season?
It's a tough one because I thought they would have been last season, but they struggled at times against some of the lesser teams. They're always competitive, and they were always competitive last season. Well, I say that up until I think last season they underperformed. Usually they were competitive and they'd give Barcelona, Real Madrid good games. Last season they were coming out second best to the big boys in games, which doesn't always happen, especially the way Simeone is. And as well, there were too many times they were losing against the. There was too many times they were losing against the smaller teams. But I think, like Reece says, they buy well.
Yeah.
And in terms of, I think Partey will be a big loss because I think people underrate how good of a player he was. I say was,
Yeah.
he is. How good of a player he was for Atletico. I think people are, because I can't think who it was. Somebody might have been Paul Merson. I don't think it was. Somebody meant likening Partey to Vieira, and there's some similarities, but not really. He's a bit more of a progressive midfielder, and I suppose Vieira was at times, but I think people would be surprised how good Partey is. And he's not I think people expect him to be a proper deep line midfielder. But he's a proper more box to box midfielder. I think Atletico could, because Real Madrid. In all fairness, Real Madrid, okay, they were the best team in the league last season. I've been a big fan of Real Madrid for years. That like Reece was saying, they'd be. Yes, he could have gone to Real Madrid, couldn't he, Phil Jones? But yeah, I think Real Madrid. I've watched them for a number of years, and last season they won the league and they were the best team. But Barcelona fell off massively. Atletico fell off massively last season. So they've really got to be at the races this season, Real Madrid. But luckily for them, it doesn't seem like Barcelona are either.
No.
Atletico, I think Atletico, they've got to click. There's still a couple of things not quite working. They've still got that philosophy, and they have that philosophy that they play with. As we were talking earlier about the philosophies, it works really well with them, and obviously that's how they won the title. It was back in 2015-16 when they won the title against all odds. All odds in theory, but realistically, if you watch them, they're a good side, and building from the back and having those attacking players. They've just got to. It's just got to kind of click a bit more attacking wise this season. With Suarez coming in, realistically, it really could do. So yeah, definitely they could challenge the big boys, because I think Barcelona are struggling. They're on. It's a big kind of transition for them, because a lot of the players that they had who were good for them second time round, I suppose, because obviously you had Iniesta, Xavi go. They brought in a new guys who are now coming to the end, and obviously a lot of those guys have gone. Your likes of Rakitic, people like that controlling the midfield for years. These guys have gone. They're getting new players in. Are they at that top quality that Barcelona are used to? Probably not. It's certainly going to be tough, but I still think Real Madrid are going to be favourites, and Atletico could certainly run them close. But it's going to be interesting. I think Atletico need to get that. They just need to get it to click up top. But now it's going to be a good one to watch. The Liga is always a league that I'll watch after the Premier League. So yeah.
No, same here. One thing I will say is I agree with everything said there. One other thing I would point out is another team perhaps is obviously Atletico Madrid are going to be they're going to be up there. Defensively, that's definitely Josh. Defense-wise, we know what Atletico Madrid are capable of. Suarez offers a set piece. What the? Someone's at fault, and it's not me. Suarez is a creative threat as well. Like he'll give them a set piece threat as well, something they've not had in a while. One thing they lack, but I think an outsider is Sevilla.
One thing I wanted to say, I've looked at Barcelona's bench from the weekend, right? I have never seen a Barcelona team that is actually lacking so much depth. Like their bench was Ronald Araujo. Now I'm guessing that's an under-21. Carlos Alenia, and then Miralem Pjanic, who didn't even get on. Martin Braithwaite, Ricard Puig, I think that's how you pronounce it. Felipe Coutinho, Trincao, Ansu Fati, Junior Firpo, Inaki Pina, Oscar Mengueza, and Arnu Tenaz. I have read in that squad it's about 6 or 7 under 21. So that's the reason that Barcelona are going to struggle is their lack of squad depth. But just going back onto what Chris said, I think the signing of Luis Suarez is a game changer for Atletico, because I think he's the one that can actually drag them out from getting a draw as well. Haven't asked Josh this. What do you think about Atletico Madrid this season?
I think Atletico Madrid have the capabilities. I think they have a better squad than Real Madrid and Barcelona. They definitely have a better squad than Barcelona. Real Madrid is in the bid, you could say. But what I would say is about Atletico Madrid is that I just don't see how under Simeone's style of play they can get the results they need and grind out those 1 and 2-0s to try and push for the league. I feel like last year that was probably what let them down big time, was when they weren't getting those. Weren't getting those wins. They just, they aren't that type of. Simeone isn't that type of guy who will be in a situation where he's drawing the lead or he's drawing 1-0, and he'll basically say, right, we're going to go for the win. He'll play for that draw. He will instead of pushing people forward to get the goal, he will push everyone back. Yeah. I feel like if Simeone transitioned a wee bit, even just a tiny wee bit, and became more of an attacking-minded manager, he would win that league by a landslide. He's got the best attacking players in La Liga. He's got probably the best midfield, and probably the best defense, and by far the best goalkeeper. If Simeone wasn't his own biggest downgrade, they would win La Liga by a mile.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I absolutely agree with that, and I think they're going to be so much better. Now, Reece, we are going to move on, guys. This is your time to get questions in. So get your questions in the chat below, and we will answer any questions that you have. One question I want to ask you though, Reece. Rangers.
Of course. Oh yes.
Absolutely.
Taryn's also a Rangers fan, so he'll be celebrating.
Absolutely dominant against Celtic. I think that's the worst I've seen Celtic play in
Told you.
10 years in an Old Firm. But this is a question I'm going to ask you now. Are Rangers going to win the league?
100%. Honestly, I don't know what people see in Celtic. Honestly, they're like, and I'm not going to just get into them because my family's full of Rangers fans, but they're such an overhyped, overrated, weak side. And the difference now is obviously we've got Gerrard in charge, and that's probably the only downgrade to Rangers is they're being managed by a Liverpool fan. But just kidding. Nah, I'm not. The one thing we could say is they've actually invested money wisely. They've filled in the places where they were weak. If left back was a problem, Barisic, you're not going to play him every single game, so you're going to need depth. That was fantastic. Defence is solid. I think Balogun has been an excellent addition because he's keeping Helander and Goldson on their toes. Goldson getting a double against Celtic. It's unheard of that your main centre back is your goal scoring threat. Keeping Morelos was smart. I think that was the best business, not letting him go, because you're going to need to keep him for the season.
On and off comments as well. The competition between McLaughlin and McGregor too has been outstanding. Gerrard's got two keepers. He physically cannot keep one out of the team unfairly. Yeah,
it's absolutely fantastic. What I'll also say is the midfield depth is. I love it when he does that. The midfield depth is key. The midfield depth's key. Rotating things around. Obviously, he's going to have Aribo, Arfield. He's going to have. I swear to God, Jones couldn't fix a dead bloody zebra. That says it all. He couldn't fix a dead zebra. He couldn't bring it back to life. The one thing I will say is that the league's done now. The league is already finished. Celtic are not catching. Celtic had the chance. They were already ahead because they had the games in hand due to the COVID situation where they were forced to play games. They've already lost. They've lost the main game at home. That's going to have a psychological advantage. Rangers have there's no winter break this year as well. So there's no way Rangers are going to have that winter break psychological effect. They're just going to go for it and maintain that consistency.
See on that, I think that is a big plus, is not having that winter break, because Rangers can everyone will say this to me, but Rangers.
I think we've called in the Daleks. Hold on, I'll go and tell them to buzz off.
But no, what I was gonna say is I just think this is Rangers' year. I've just got that feeling that Gerrard did a fantastic job with Rangers last season in Europe as well, and you have to remember that. And yes, Rangers have dropped silly points to Hibs and they've dropped silly points to Livingston, but these are two difficult teams as well. Chris, do you think Rangers can finally take the title off Celtic? Do you think?
I thought they were going to last year, to be honest. I kind of I like Rangers. I can make me sound old now, but I kind of one of the earliest strikers that I liked growing up was Ali McCoist. I mean, he was coming towards the end of his career, but I liked Ali McCoist. And I mean, I watched them on Saturday. I watched that game over the Merseyside derby. In all fairness, and Rangers were they were by far the better team. And I still think they could have gone up a couple of levels because I mean Morelos doesn't usually score against Celtic, does he? He wasn't particularly at the races. Ryan Kent seems to have gone up another level. He's so dangerous with his pace. Brandon Barker as well. His pace, he's dangerous. I think it's kind of having that, isn't it? You can kind of almost pick. I think last season a big thing that let them down was a couple of injuries, and they're struggling big time.
Yes.
But now you look at the players. You've got Morelos. Okay, if he's not firing, you've got Kemar Roof. Obviously,
you've got Everton as well.
Yeah, exactly. So and they haven't had that for a few years now, have they? Realistically, and then obviously then you've got Kent, you've got Barker in the midfield, as you say. Midfield, you've got Aribo. There's Davis in there, Kamara as well, and they're all decent midfielders.
Jordan Jones has turned his career around at Rangers after the red card last year. He's now in the team and making a big difference.
Yeah. And to answer Chris's question, yes, we're still unbeaten in the league. We've not lost a game. We've not lost. We've dropped points to Hibs in the league.
Yeah, just
with Hibs,
that draw,
but we haven't lost a game yet. We've been the form team in the league for a reason.
So my opinion on the league is Neil Lennon is blaming injuries. He has but I have to say I think it's so clear that Neil Lennon relies on Anton Edward more than ever. Ever since Anton Edward has not been in that team, they have looked absolutely toothless.
Dog shit.
Of the night.
Even I remember when Neil Lennon thought it was smart. It was in the Champions League qualifier when they were playing an absolute rubbish team, and he played Ryan Christie as a false nine, and it failed big time. It failed on him big time, and he ended up getting knocked out. Neil Lennon looks clueless. He does. That's three Old Firm derbies in a row, and he has had no clue how to play against Gerrard's Rangers. Every single time Gerrard has had his number dialed up and completely outplayed him. Neil Lennon, Celtic have not looked good at all this season. They struggled. They nearly lost to the Hamilton Amidemical at home. Livingston's given them a run for their money, and their next game's away to Aberdeen. So
we're going to win that 4-0.
Rangers just look confident. They look convincing. They look like they have a plan. Celtic just look lost. And Neil Lennon doesn't have a clue what team he wants to play. He's been playing a back three, a back four, two strikers, one striker, two in the midfield, three in the midfield. The big difference between the two is consistency. And I honestly think that 10 in a row is completely and utterly off the cards. And because of that reason, and I call it now, I think Neil Lennon's going to be sacked mid-season.
Yes, I agree with that. What I will say as well is the big difference for Gerrard is last year he was dipping between formation. He was going between the 4-3-3 and a 4-3-2-1. He's now settled on the 4-2-3-1, and the way he's done it is fantastic. He's moving key players out onto certain positions has worked. Giving Ryan Kent the free role has helped. To answer this question, which Premiership club? It's not Liverpool.
No.
I would honestly say your club. I would say Crystal Palace.
Oh,
and that's not a downgrade. That's not like a downgrade comment. I genuinely think he would go to Crystal Palace. I think he would do quite well there and work his way up.
Taryn's brought up a good point. But
yep, that was hilarious.
Brown nonchalantly was cool.
Can we just agree that Scott Brown is one of the most hateful pricks in the Scottish League? I hate the guy. Yeah. I despise Scott Brown with a passion. He's a cunt. I hate him.
Finally, someone agrees with me when they call him a cunt. Finally. Thank you.
I have no idea who was leaking the starting team at Celtic, but I know that Neil Lennon was not a happy bunny. I saw in the Metro today that he said, "Oh, we'll find the culprit." I'm sure you will.
Yeah, he's not going to find the culprit. I mean, for goodness sake, Neil Lennon's got as much intelligence as Phil Jones.
Going on to another point, where I have to say, Chris Sutton, bless him, I think he's still been very, very salty. And I know that he was an ex-Aston Villa player, Chris, but what did you make of his comments on Twitter saying, "Oh, Rangers have just beaten a Celtic third string"?
Typical.
He has his moments, doesn't he? He talks a lot of shite. I mean, if you look at the thing is for Celtic, and they've been like it a number of years now. Best part of 10 years, they've always had, and they've always pride themselves on having such a good squad. And it seems like now all of a sudden they've had a couple of injuries, and their team's terrible. If you look at that the team they played on paper, they had. Yeah. It's still a good side. They missed Edouard, but that's why they bring in they bring in the kind of backups for him. It's just shite. It's just rubbish excuses, really. They've got more money than the Rangers. They've spent more over the last however many years. They should have a much better squad. I think it's just been managed poorly.
It says it all, really. When I had an argument with a Celtic fan a couple of years ago, it says it all, really, that Celtic didn't win a domestic treble until Rangers got back in the league. Yeah, for all those years out of the league, they didn't win a single domestic treble, so they can shove that up their asses and all.
Here's my point to the whole first string thing. Number one, that Celtic team that Neil Lennon had out was still. Oh my God!
Oh, Jesus Christ! Liz Golden, if you're still in the chat, I think you've officially been trumped.
The Celtic team, the team Celtic still had out is actually the team technically that won the league last year. So there's no real complaints there. And the second thing is, what about the times when Gerrard's first and second season when he didn't have as good a team as the Celtic, yet he still was able to outplay Neil Lennon? Like how Gerrard did not win that League Cup final, I will never know.
Oh,
that was absolute scandal. That was a scandal. The referee decisions and the fact that the Rangers just couldn't score because of Fraser Foster was a joke.
That annoyed me because obviously we beat them in the league the week later. Like, that annoyed me. I know, but we played the same way. Yeah, but no, we deserve to win something. The fact that Rangers haven't won an official trophy, like in the terms of the top flight, we haven't won the league. We haven't won the League Cup. We haven't won the Scottish Cup. We haven't won that since 2011. So it's going to be a decade anyway without a trophy. And that, for a club like Rangers, it says it all. But it's not bad. It's not a bad thing in terms of recovering. Obviously, like, you got to remember as well, like, and I don't mean that. Oh, it's not. Yeah, he walks into an SPL team. No, mate. Phil Jones couldn't walk into a team. He would have to be lifted into a team. But also,
he'd probably walk into Livingston's team. I think I'll just say that now. So
he'd walk in and get injured.
Just the else, right? This is back to you now quickly. But you're obviously with him buying Maguire tomorrow. Was Jones included in the Champions League squad, or does he have no chance of even getting in the squad with two centre halves?
He's not in the squad, and that's a bonus.
So he's going to partner Maguire.
Maguire's not there. Maguire's not in France.
Sorry, Lindelof.
I think it's going to be a back three. I'm going to say back three of Lindelof, Shaw and Ted and Mengi, I think. Or if not, it might be Fosu-Mensah, which makes me sick.
Fosu-Mensah centre back. Let's go. Fosu-Mensah centre back. That'll be fun to watch.
It's going to be interesting tomorrow. I think he's going to stick with the back four, although I disagree. I think he needs to go back three for this one. But the plus side is the PSG's best midfielders are all out, so that's a good thing.
I did read that. Final question of the evening, and I'll come to Chris because he's our special guest as well. Where are Aston Villa going to finish this season?
I'm going to stick with what I've said. I think I said it on your channel. I I said it on the Cop Council as well. I said it with the Tampa Bay Cop as well. 12th. We're going to finish 12th. I know we've had a great start, but we've done well, but we're not going to keep it up. 12th would be fantastic because obviously the last 3 seasons now. It's come down to the last game of the season.
Yep, correct.
And be out for the season.
He's in the squad. I don't know if Twanzebe will start. Goldson's not. Sir, really? Like, put it this way: Phil Jones isn't fit to wear my boots.
Okay, last.
Let alone my Converse.
Last question of the evening: when do we think fans will come back into the stadiums in this country?
October 2021.
I was able to. There was a government speech today. From what they have said, they are regarding the whole what the restrictions are going to be and the way they're going with local restrictions. There is no plans regarding the Premier League. I'm not too sure about Scotland, but there is absolutely no plans to get fans back into the stadiums until February of 2021.
7-2 says it all.
February 2021 is when they're looking to get fans back into the Premier League stadiums.
I think it's a bad decision.
Imagine this though: Aston Villa narrowly survive and win the league season after the seasons.
And that's the thing. That's the thing I showed you in the group chat. We here in Northern Ireland were able to do it over the weekend in far smaller grounds. Just makes you question why they can't do it in England. It really, really does make you question it.
Yeah, and I'm just going to quickly respond. I'm going to quickly respond to Taryn. Yeah, I know Twanzebe's in the squad, but I don't think Twanzebe is fit enough to start. That's why I would not risk him. I don't think it's a good idea to throw him in, especially against PSG, where he's not at full match fitness. He's only played an under 23s game. You play him in against PSG, it's career suicide. I would rather not play him.
Football isn't that is what I want. We will get you on the podcast. Honestly, thank you very much for tuning in. A lot to talk about non-league, so we'll definitely talk about non-league. But that is it for another podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very, very much to everyone who's watched. If you haven't already, please leave a like on this video. Share the stream if you want to, and hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on for every upload that goes on, because YouTube doesn't like notifications as well. But very, very special thanks to Chris Ellis for coming on the podcast. Absolute pleasure to have you. And your Villa are absolutely flying right now. Where can we find you in your socials?
So we're on YouTube, search Villa Together. And then, as I've got on my name, Instagram and Twitter, we're at Villa Together. Obviously, the main stuff we do is around Aston Villa, but as Reece will know, in the international break, we occasionally do something a bit different. So have a look at that kind of stuff on YouTube if you want. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the usual podcast kind of stuff. So yeah, give us a follow and subscribe.
Cian is actually making me laugh right now. I'm going to go to Reece's gaff now and kill the Dalek inside his house. I like the fact he used a Scottish one as well. No, I'm not going to go for a walk. I'm going to chill and play some. I'm going to chill and play some Xbox to respond to your comments, guys.
Yeah, Reece, absolute pleasure to have you back on the podcast, my friend.
Thanks, dude.
Go and follow Reece United for Life 14.
Yep, officially just here, United for Life 14, and you can now officially find me on my show. I am now part of the official world of Footcast. I'm hungry. World of podcast. Every Monday night, unless we're not available on a Monday. This is now officially my show. Join in, get amongst the chat, and as always, stay safe, folks, and be wary of COVID. It is not a laughing matter, but laughter is the best cure for anything. So
do you walk your dog every day at 7:00? Because I noticed at the start of last week you were out and about as well, weren't you?
It's not that. It's just like because of I was like whenever I'm working as well, like he is a bit of a pest. So you've just got to manage him. He's a bit of a nightmare, but yeah. So I was running a little bit late with work, so that's how I was a little bit late walking him. But then again, if I have to, I'll just chuck in the data.
Yeah, absolutely. Good one, guys. Enjoyed it a lot. Take care and bye. See you later, Pepsi. Tarun, he's not called Pepsi Max. He's Reece. Stop
Let him
calling him Pepsi Max.
Sorry, he can call me Pepsi Max, but frankly, I would rather be Pepsi Max than a beer drinker.
Yeah, absolutely. Josh, thank you very much again. I'll obviously be in touch for you. Oh yeah, cheers, Chris. Thank you very getting in the old cider. I like it as well. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching another podcast. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in tonight. And as I've said, leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notifications bell because YouTube do not like notifications. And we'll be back next week. We have a fantastic guest next week. I'm not going to mention who, but we know. But I will see you all later and enjoy your weekend. And we'll be back with you again, same time, same place, 7 p.m. And we'll see you later. Take care.
With your host, me.
Cheers for having me, guys. Thanks very much.
Nice.
Enjoyed it.
Bye.